Welcome to our presentation of Nippon, the Japanese name for Japan, and is often referred to as the land of the rising sun because of its location to the east of China, the direction of which the sun rises. During our presentation, we will provide you with an overview of the political, economic, social, cultural, technology, and legal aspects of Japan with some comparison to the U.S. In addition, we will provide you with the SWOT analysis. We hope with our presentation and our quick reference summary, you will be able to determine if investing or opening a business in Japan will be the right decision for your company. Japan has 6,852 islands, which are located to the east of the Sea of Japan and to the west of the Pacific Ocean. Japan's largest islands are Honshu, Hokkaido, Kyushu, and Shikoku, and make up about 97% of the Japanese population, due to 430 islands that are uninhabited. Japan has a very high population density due to this and the conditions, therefore 336 people per square kilometer, whereas the U.S. population density is 34 people per square kilometer. Tokyo is Japan's capital and is the most populous metropolitan area and the largest metropolitan area economy in the world. Tokyo-Yokohama has 37.8 million residents.
The political system of Japan is structured in what is called a constitutional monarchy. This is such that the monarch does not solely hold the political power. The chief of state is the emperor, who is currently Emperor Akihito, and ascended to power through hereditary lines. With the current political system, the emperor is viewed more as a symbol rather than the political leader. The Prime Minister of Japan is an elected official who acts as the political leader. The current Prime Minister is Shinzo Abe. Similar to the United States, Japan has 3 branches of government, including the executive, legislative, and judicial branch. The executive branch consists of the emperor, the Prime Minister, and the executive cabinet. As previously stated, the emperor is more of a symbol rather than the political leader, whereas the prime minister is elected and has political power. The legislative branch, again similar to the United States, is bicameral, meaning it consists of 2 houses. The legislative branch is also called the National Diet. It is composed of the House of Representatives, that has 480 elected seats, and the House of Councilors, which has 242 elected seats. The National Diet is charged with electing the Prime Minister. The judicial branch consists of 4 tiers, including the Supreme Court and 3 lower-level courts. The current Constitution of Japan was enacted on May 3, 1947. Again, similar to the United States, it is composed of a Bill of Rights. Many of the civil laws in Japan mirror that of European countries, most notably Germany. Japan has multiple political parties, which number greater than 10. However, there are 5 major parties that are represented on the 2 houses. These include the Liberal Democratic Party, the Democratic Party, the Innovation Party, the Komeito Party, and the Communist Party. Of these, the Liberal Democratic and the Democratic parties number the most of the 2 houses. The political stability of Japan rivals that of the United States. When looking at the Worldwide Governance Indicator project on worldbank.org, the index data shows a strong index at 2.5 and a weak index at minus 2.5. Japan's most recent score in 2013 was 0.98, with an average of 1.01 over the last 10 years, and has a rank of 81.53 percentile. In comparison, the United States' most recent score in 2013 was 0.61 and has a rank of 65.88 percentile. This shows that Japan has a stable political structure.
Let's talk about economics in Japan. Japan has a population of about 40% of the U.S. population, and the GNI with purchasing power is about 70% of the U.S. The government debt, shown here as a percentage of GDP, is much higher in Japan as compared to the U.S., as well as the neighboring country of Russia. In fact, the debt percentage of GDP is almost double that of the U.S. To counteract this, Japan decided in 2013 to gradually increase consumption tax to 10%, though this has been postponed to 2017. Foreign direct investment is relatively low in Japan compared to the US and China. The Prime Minister declared Japan's economy as the top priority. He has reopened previously closed nuclear power plants, as well as pursuing an economic agenda for fiscal stimulus, monetary easing, and structural reform. Japan joined the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations in 2013, which should open Japan's economy to increase foreign competition and create new export opportunities for Japanese businesses. With this reform and focus on the economy, Japan's economy ranks fourth in the world in terms of GDP after you take account for the purchase power parity. Japan's economy has encountered 4 recessions since 2008. This was caused by a sharp downturn in the business investment coupled with a decreased global demand for Japanese goods. In 2011, a massive 9.0 earthquake, followed by a tsunami in March, disrupted manufacturing and played a toll on the economy. That being said, GDP is growing by 1.5%, and the unemployment and inflation rate in Japan are both lower than the US. The current exchange rate is $1 is equal to 124.67 Japanese yen. On a Big Mac scale, a Big Mac costs $3.14 in Japan versus $4.79 in the US. The Japanese yen has been getting stronger over the years. On a global competitive scale, ranked by the World Forum, Japan is ranked 6th overall in the world. Out of the Asian market, it is only surpassed by Singapore. Now let's hear from Jackie on the social culture aspects of Japan.
Shinto and Buddhism are the 2 major religions of Japan. The pie chart shows the distribution of the different types of religion which the Japanese identify with. The reason the total amount does not equal 100% is due to the many people belonging to both Shintoism and Buddhism. Other religions include Islam, Hinduism, and Sikhism. However, in a recent study, 60% of Japanese people have said they are atheist. According to the scores from Gurv Hosid, Japan scores are much lower in individualism compared to the U.S. Japanese society has many of the characteristics of a collective society, and that the Japanese place the harmony of the group above the expression of individual opinions. Japan scores lower in indulgence compared to the U.S. Japan is shown to have a culture of restraint and does not emphasize leisure time, but instead controls their need for gratification. Japan scores high in long-term orientation, and that isn't at all surprising given that Asian cultures tend to think in long-term, whereas the U.S. focuses on the short term. Japan scores relatively high in the masculinity scale, which indicates that the culture is driven by competition, success, and achievement, and is considered one of the most masculine societies in the world. Japan scores a 54 in power distance, which indicates that Japan is a borderline hierarchical society. Japan is known for slow decision-making process due to this, and Japan's high score of uncertainty avoidance is due to Japan's uncertainty in the face of environmental threats. The high need for uncertainty avoidance is one of the reasons why change is so difficult for the Japanese. According to Trompier's variables for universalism versus particularism, Japan scored lower than the U.S. Universalism are the beliefs and ideas can be applied everywhere without alteration, whereas particularism are circumstances dictate how ideas and practices should be applied. In neutral versus effective, Japan scored higher than the U.S. because the Japanese have a higher degree of control in expressing emotions and are able to keep their emotions to themselves in order to save face. In achievement versus ascription, Japan scored a lot lower compared to the U.S., which indicates that titles and/or status are equally important. Achievement pertains to the notion people are given status based on their high performance, and that title status equal unimportant, whereas ascription pertains to status is attributed based on who or what a person is. Japan scored slightly lower than the U.S. in specific versus diffused. Diffused refers to the degree of which work and private life are closely linked. Japan scored lower in internal control versus external control compared to the U.S. Internal control is a person's belief in being able to control the outcomes, whereas external control is a person's propensity to letting things take their course. According to the Corruption Perception Index for 2014, Japan's score was a 76 and ranks 15 compared to the U.S. score of 74 at a rank of 17. The rule of law overall score for Japan in 2015 is 0.78 compared to the U.S. at 0.73. After the March 2011 earthquake and tsunami incident, looting and disorderly conduct did not occur in the aftermath of the disasters. The Japanese people responded with respect to each other and with great dignity.
Japan is one of the leading nations in research and development of electronics, automobiles, robotics, and earthquake engineering. Some of the most notable electronic companies include Sony, Panasonic, Canon, Sharp, Hitachi, Nintendo, Toshiba, Fuji, and Epson. Some of the most notable automobile companies include Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda, Mitsubishi, Suzuki, and Subaru. When looking at data provided by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the percent of the total GDP of Japan spent on research and development is higher compared to that of the United States at 3.489, compared to 2.806. This suggests high investment into research and development.
Investors can consider two variables before entry into this country. One, the implications of establishing a subsidiary in such a volatile state, literally volatile because of the reliance on nuclear energy, and two, the risks involved with environmental, that is, weather-related, events. This leads to an important score, the Disaster Risk Reduction Progress Score, which is an average of self-assessment scores ranging from 1 to 5 submitted by countries under Priority 1 of the Hyogo Framework National Progress Reports. The Hyogo Framework is a global blueprint for disaster risk reduction efforts that was adopted by 168 countries in 2005. Assessments of Priority 1 include 4 indicators that reflect the degree to which countries have prioritized disaster risk reduction and the strengthening of relevant institutions. Of the 5 priorities that comprise the score, the 2 of specific interest for investors is 1, risk assessment and early warning systems, and 2, preparedness for effective response. The closer the number to 5, the presumably more prepared the infrastructure is for dealing with something such as Fukushima or the tsunami. Compared here to the US, the following figure indicates a clear distinction in the score between this country and Japan. As noted earlier, Japan's hybrid legal structure is divided into 3 branches: the Diet, the Cabinet, and a 3-tiered judiciary. It is noted that, despite its uniqueness, Japan's constitution includes several articles familiar to the U.S. Constitution, such as due process, Article 31, the right to retain defense counsel, Article 34, a speedy, public, open, and impartial trial, Article 37, the right to remain silent, Article 38, and amongst others, the prohibition of double jeopardy, Article 39. The judicial system conducts itself as a Saibanin system, that is, a system of lay judges. Regarding arbitration, 3 professional judges and 6 Saibanin, lay judges, will deliberate together on guilt and sentence. To find a defendant guilty, the votes of at least 1 judge and 1 Saibanin are required. Rule of law in Japan is required to realize good governance. The aim is to establish a strong state and to preclude the abuse of power. Furthermore, the goal is to form a well-balanced partnership among government, the private sector, and civil society, and to abide by legitimate rules and regulations. Rule of law practice is that of a neutral system for dispute resolution and an overall assurance of access to rules and systems.
Japan's SWOT analysis is a snapshot of Japan's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Japan is technologically advanced with a highly educated population that produce high-quality products. The Japanese workforce is team-oriented and dedicated to his or her own group. However, Japan does not respond to change as well as countries, and decisions take much longer to make due to their hierarchical society. Japan's debt is double that of the debt of the United States. Opportunities for Japan are in their large market, the country's location and access to other markets, as well as their ability to focus on new technologies while improving global competitiveness. The threats to Japan are the possibility of tax rates spiking and affecting businesses. In addition, the aging workforce and the competition from other countries in the form of lower corporate tax rates and lower wages pose threats to Japan. Another threat is the fluctuations in exchange rates and how changes could negatively affect Japan's economy. We hope you enjoyed our presentation and that the information we provided will allow your company to determine if Japan is the right decision for your business. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Sayonara. Which means thank you very much and goodbye.